Catherine
Hi.
and Jill. Jill. Okay, so we're going to do some Tai Chi in Qigong class today, all right? Because Tai Chi actually is a form of Qigong. Um, I have been thinking about what were talking about on Sunday, and one of the things that um, I want to make clear is it's true you guys are students. But one, you're both good students, and I mean that. I appreciate that. The second thing I should say is I'm also a student. I'm a student of being a teacher, and it's not easy because oftentimes you just don't see what you're doing. Now the advantage of all these Zoom videos that we've got is you can go back and watch yourself. All right. And I did go back and watch myself and realized that I think it was on Sunday that I missed something really important in the discussion where we were focusing on Jill. All right. So, Jill, we're going to focus you on again, but it's what I really want to talk about um, is really my lack of clarity for a couple of reasons. One is I missed something that was going on. And because I missed it, I was not clear with you about my explanations about things. When you're teaching in the moment, you have to relate to what's actually going on. Otherwise it all just sort of stays sort of theoretical. So something happened, and I'm actually going to play the video again. There's like 2 seconds that I want to focus on. And it just went over my head. And because it did, I went off on one tangent, which was fine. There was nothing wrong with that tangent. It's just that it didn't address what was actually happening. And because it didn't address what was actually happening, it failed to make something clear. And the thing that it failed to make clear is really important. All right? So let me play this 2 seconds. Now it's going to be 2 seconds of watching Jill do something. It's not a matter of it being right or wrong. It's just a matter of um, what she's actually doing versus something else. Anyway, let me just play it. And I'll play it 2 or 3 times. Honestly, it's just like 2 seconds long. Hold on. Okay, now watch.
Okay. Yin, yang, yin.
Boom. That was it. Again. Watch her hands.
Yang, yin.
And notice how she's hesitating. Okay, stop. Okay, stop. So we should stop there. Now, Jill was confused. You could see it in her. It's like she's trying to listen for something, right? And the reason she's confused is because she does not have a clear picture of what should be going on inside, right? So this is what we're all trying to do, is come up with these clear pictures. And it takes a long time to do that. My job as a teacher, when you focus on something like that, is to help you get a clear picture, not do the Tai Chi for you. You do your own Tai Chi. But I missed that moment, and that moment is really, really important. So what Jill was doing was going up and then sliding back down. Now, there are times when you do that, so it's not a wrong movement, it's just different than what we were looking for, right? So you could say she's going up in a curve and then coming back down in a curve, right? As opposed to going up and then over the top and down and out. So she was going up and then coming back down, where the actual motion is to come up and go over and then through. Both actions are fine. There's nothing wrong with either one of them. It's just a question of which to be clear about what your options are and choose one. And that's really what we were working on before. And when I missed that motion, I missed the chance to get into the circles. All right, so wait a second. Right, so you guys can see this okay, I think. So, right, one option is to go up like so, right, and then to come back like so. Right? There's nothing wrong with that. There are times when you do that. Right? It's actually 1/4 of a circle. And we haven't gotten into the 13 energies before, but I guess we should, all right? Pum, right? On, pum, on, pum, on. There's lots of times when you do that motion. So there's nothing wrong with that motion. And if you decide you want to do that motion, then you just do it. You understand what you're doing, and you do it. The version of this that we were working on, however, looks like this. All right. So it's a full circle. Pum, pum, lu, on, chi. Again, there's no problem. They're both fine, but they're just different. So it's like playing two different notes on a musical instrument. You just, as an artist, you need to understand what the possibilities of the instrument are and make a decision about what you want to do. So what we were talking about the other day is this one. Now, like I said, really experienced players internalize that circle so much that you won't see it from the outside. Master Zhang used to say this all the time. If I don't show you, you won't see it. All right? What he meant was, if I don't exaggerate it a little bit, more than I would need to do it myself, you won't be able to see it on the outside. Because I've worked this so much that it's all internal. So it looks like this. Pum, Lu, An, Chi. All right? It's very small and very fast. But that doesn't mean it's not powerful, because it's based on the same principle. So when you practice this, Pum, Lu, An, Chi. Right? We do it big. In order to do all the body practicing that you need to do. I felt that by missing that, I missed the chance to kind of clarify more closely what it is we were actually trying to do. Is this a little more helpful, Catherine?
Yeah, it is.
Good. All right. And again, this has nothing to do with Jill. It could be anybody who is doing this, right? My problem is I'm still learning to be as good a teacher as I would like to be. One, two, three. All right? So you can count that as 3 circles. And every circle has Pung, Lu, An, and Ji in it. Not always in that sequence, but they're always in there. They're not always the same amount. Sometimes there's a lot of Pung and just a tiny little bit of An. Sometimes there's a tiny little bit of Pung and a lot of An. So, but the recipe changes, but you always have the same ingredients. This one here, that's a pretty big Pung. When we practice it correctly, that's a pretty big Lu. The An is tiny, and then Ji. Why is the An tiny? Well, because I'm not going down. I'm going down a little bit. You want to get down to the bottom of your feet before you push. Make sense?
Yeah.
Good. Okay. Let's do shoulder rolls here for a minute. Pung, Lu, An, Ji, Pung, Lu, An, Ji. All 4 of those circles are in there with the shoulder. This is a shoulder strike. All right. If the guy is standing here, Right? You don't use your shoulder to hit him, you use your fist. Boom. But if he's standing in here, you use your elbow. If he's standing right up against you, you use your shoulder. Right? So all three joints are striking surfaces. Pung, pung, pung. Why might you mean you use pung in this thing just to wind up? But suppose somebody comes up and puts their hand on top of your shoulder. One of the things that you can do is essentially fake him out. All right? So you come up under his hand as if there's something there. You can make him think that you're going in that direction when you're not. All right? You're actually ready to go in the other direction. Now, what is he going to do when you lift up underneath him? What's he going to do, Catherine? He's pressing down, you press up. What is he naturally going to do? He's going to press down harder.
Press down.
He's going to press down even harder. You're giving him resistance.
Yeah.
You're giving him some resistance, so he's going to move even harder. That's what you want him to do. All right? Now he's pressing really, really hard. Now what do? You disappear from underneath him. Pong, right? Lu and An. You just disappear. When you disappear, what is he going to do?
Fall down.
He's going to fall down because you're no longer supporting him. All right? A lot of Tai Chi works by that principle. You sucker your opponent in. He or she is giving you some trouble. So it's like you give them a little resistance. Yeah, come on in. Huh? Give them a little resistance. They'll start pushing even harder, and then you just disappear. Like you're not even there anymore. And what's he going to do? He's going to fall over on his face. And you think, no, nobody's that dumb. Nobody would do that. Yeah, they will. Trust me. Right? Even though this whole action takes place like that, if you've trained in this well, the time slows down. Time slows down for you. So there's plenty of time. But this means the training is pung, pung, pung. Pung, pung, all the way from the bottom of the feet. Pung, pung. When someone's pushing, I wish Annie was in here so I could show you. Imagine somebody's pushing on this white dot, not pushing down. Before I was talking about them just sort of resting their hands on your shoulder and pushing down. But imagine they're pushing in. You give them some resistance. And so to encourage them, yeah, you do that, all right? He's going to push in, all right? Push in harder, and then watch. You release the shoulder. Resistance, release. When you push with somebody who's really good, it's like they're made of Teflon. You try to push on them and you just slip off them. They're like the metaphor is they're like a ball, all right? And you push on them and the ball just turns. The ball doesn't go anywhere, it just turns. You can't push it because the guy has trained himself to take a push and just stay. He keeps his position. You keep your center line. You release the edge, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if there's an axle through here, and just like the earth, this can rotate. The axle, the center line stays right where it is, but the edges of the ball turn, and the guy just rolls off them. All right, and it really does work. This is a very useful technique in interpersonal communications for those hoping to be therapists, right? Give them a little resistance and then just release it. As long as you keep your center, you'll be fine. Okay, so that's Pong and Lu. All right. Now comes On. On is often forgotten in these exercises when people do them. And it's just a little tiny bit of On. Remember On and do some On, which means you need to sink. And yes, it's true, the shoulder is going to go down, but everything else is going to go down too, particularly in the hips. Sink. Boom. All right. Pong. Lu. On. Now, often when I do this as an exercise, I don't go that deep physically, but you should, particularly at the beginning. And this is a good point to bring something up. If I had a white piece of chalk, right, I could draw a big circle here representing this Pong, Lu, On, and Ji back into position, and Pong, Lu, On, Ji. Pong, Lu, On, Ji. Right? The whole thing's circling. When the shoulder circles, the hip must circle too. Otherwise, you separate the upper body and the lower body instead of integrating them. You want to integrate them. So let's do this again, right? But think of your hip. And yes, your hip joint is in here, but you can also think about this part of the hip too, right? Pong. Right? Pong. Lu. On. Ji. Pong. Lu. On. Ji. Pong. Lu. On. Ji. And after a while, you start to realize, oh, well, my knee is doing it too, and my ankle is doing it too. Everything's doing it. So don't isolate the shoulder. Integrate the shoulder. Everything in the body is doing this. Even this is kind of the off arm in this case, because I'm really focusing on this. But even this arm is doing it. If you want to have good pum, then you have to have good G, right? And good on. If your on and your G are just kind of half-assed, your pung will end up being half-assed too. In other words, all four of these energies all work together. So to increase the efficiency of one, you increase all of them. Pung, Lu, on, Qi. Do it nice and slow and feel the whole body. Pung, Lu, on, Qi. Qi, Peng, Lu, An, Qi. Depending on what you're doing, so this is circle going on here. You always think of a circle as having two sides, right? So just like the symbol, there are two sides, the yin and the yang side, but they can change. It's not static. So this could be a strike. It's a backward shoulder strike. Somebody's behind you and they're giving you a bear hug. Right? Or it could just be a preparation for a forward shoulder strike. This could be a release and then a strike. Release, strike. Release, strike. Peng Lu, An Ji. Peng Lu, An Ji. Does this make sense? Jill, is this making sense? Right? So it's not that it's not that Peng always has to be a strike. Peng can be defensive. Any of these energies can be either defensive or offensive. Depends on what you want. Yes, Catherine.
So in this movement, very simple movement, you can have either one yin-yang cycle or two, depending.
How so? Yes. Yes. Theoretically, yes, you could. Why not?
Depending on what you want to do. Yeah.
The Peng in this case is winding up. All right. And the Lu is a strike. And then the An is winding up, and the Ji is a strike in this case.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, it is possible. The thing is now you've got some language to talk about this, and also to bring into your form and begin to ask yourself when you make a movement, right? Well, what am I doing?
Yeah.
And what you're doing depends, at least in part, on what you want to do. So that's the part that's the art. You don't always. Master Feng, watch Master Feng. He never does the form the same way twice. Never. Literally. I mean, think about it. Aren't you different every day? In fact, aren't you different during the day? You're in one mood in the morning, you're in another mood in the evening. Well, why would your Tai Chi be the same? Right? It's going to follow what you are. And for someone like Feng, he's just well aware of that. And so, okay, yeah, right now I'm doing this. Sometimes I just do this. Sometimes I do this. Both are okay. The problem is not whether they're okay or not okay. The problem is, do you know what it is you're doing?
Yeah.
All right. Listen to any great classical singer. Listen to any great classical musician. A great person to listen to is Stevie Ray Vaughan on guitar. He never plays. I mean, pick something like Texas Flood, a classic blues number, and go listen to 3 or 4 versions of Stevie Ray Vaughan playing Texas Flood. They're not the same. The basic story's the same, but what he's doing is different every time. It's like, oh, okay, well, that's, why? Because he's being creative. Yeah, the basic score is there, but what he does with it is far beyond the basic score. It's the same with the Tai Chi form. the basic score of the Tai Chi form is there and has been there for a long time. But but that doesn't mean you have to do it mechanically. All right? In fact, it's organic. Where you just follow the mood of the moment, of the day. Jill, looks like your camera's frozen there. Maybe Jill's frozen. She's meditating. Okay, so let's continue with the shoulders here. All right. Just remember when you're doing a shoulder roll, you're also doing a hip roll. All right. So if you're doing the alternate, the right side rolls. Oh, this is what I was going to say. Watch my hand. The whole arm is spiraling. Now, often when I do this, it's lighter than that. So it's going to look like this. If I exaggerate it a little bit, if I'm going to release my shoulder, that is, I'm going to sucker the guy in, so I'm going to give him a little resistance, I'm going to turn the back of my hand forward, and that's going to turn my shoulder forward and give him something to push on. And then when I go to release, watch my hand. So what I'm really doing is turning my whole arm down the axis of the arm. So when you're doing the shoulder rolls and exercises, there are two axes working at the same time. One axis goes straight through the body like this, all right? And the shoulder's rolling around that axis. But there's another axis that goes straight up and down the arm, and the arm is turning around that axis. And you're doing both at the same time. Reverse. Watch my hands. So when I do this the first way, so I'm rolling my shoulders backwards, right? My chest is opening and my back is closing. You can feel it. The chest opens, the back closes. All right, up here it closes, all right, as well as down lower. Open the chest, close the back. Open the chest, close the back. Open the chest, close the back. Now, if you reverse it, now you're opening the back and closing the chest. Open the back and close the chest. Open the back and close the chest. Now, when you close the chest, don't do it on purpose. Don't try to smush your chest in. Just let it happen naturally. When you open your back, it's going to just automatically close your chest. So every movement can be, in Tai Chi, can be either a yin or yang, even though it's the same movement. It can be defensive or it can be aggressive. So maybe some guy's coming up behind me and shoving on my shoulder, right? If I just resist, he's liable to just push me over. So he comes up and pushes on the shoulder. Right? He pushes on that shoulder. Just roll the shoulder. In fact, you make him roll your shoulder. Don't you roll your shoulder. You just direct the energy. But you let him do the work. Let him push you. Don't go ahead of him. Going ahead of him is called anticipating. Right? Just go ahead and roll. That's the defensive. But this same movement could also be offensive. Could be a shoulder strike. Sometimes the shoulder strike is with the front of the shoulder. Sometimes it's actually with the arm. So the arm right, the arm rolls around. And you're hitting him with this. So it could be defensive. Oh, I'm just yielding. You've heard the term yield and overcome. That's exactly what it means. You yield. Someone attacks you, you yield. Right? You yield and then you overcome. What you don't lose is your middle. Watch the midline. Right? I've still got my midline. As long as you've got your center, listen to this, as long as you've got your center, you can stay grounded. If you lose your center, you will get ungrounded. Something to think about in life, all right?
Yeah.
Keep your center. How do you keep your center when you're being attacked? I don't know whether you guys know or not, but I actually went to grad school once in psychology. The best lesson I learned was your clients will not be able to say in words what's bothering them. So they will make you feel the way they feel. They're not doing that consciously, but that's what's going on. So if they feel like, the whole world is just attacking me, they're going to attack you. As a therapist, you need to be able to keep your center when you get attacked. And often when people attack you, if they're in a therapeutic relationship, they know a lot about you. It's not just you knowing a lot about them. They're going to intuit where your weak points are. And they're going to stick their finger into that sore. And if you are triggered by that, well, now there are two patients there, or two clients, rather than a therapist, right? Keep your center. But you notice you keep this. Or you may just be yielding. Yield and overcome. Yield and overcome. Yield and overcome. Yield and overcome. When you yield, the guy's going to stumble forward. Right? Yield. Yield. Yield and overcome. For instance, I think I've told you guys this story before, but I'll end with this. I did a workshop up in Napa once, years ago, on push hands. And I knew a couple of the people. Actually, one of them was a Tai Chi sister, so she was also a sworn disciple. And a friend of hers who was a longtime student of hers, a really nice guy who also eventually became a disciple. Anyway, so I'm at the beginning of the workshop, I wanted to demonstrate a little about the push hands because nobody had done it before. So I asked Jim, since I knew him, to come out and help me. And I should have been ready for this, but I wasn't. When you do push hands workshops, inevitably somebody will test you. Now they're going to act like it's a joke, but in fact it's serious. Now they're not trying to kill you, but they're trying to see what's there. And so, here I am, just mentally, okay, we're just demonstrating this. And Jim just goes bam like that into the center of my chest. It wasn't just a strike and a release. It was a strike and a follow through. And when someone does that to you, one of the things you just naturally do is just release. Just release. Hopefully go back. Well, he just kept coming. So I had to release really, really, really deep. And what happens? Someone won't push you unless they're in a good position. They think they're in a good position. Why would they push you if they're in a lousy position? They're not going to do that. They're going to feel like they're grounded and centered, and then they're going to push you. The farther they come, the less grounded they feel. So at a certain point, they're going to stop pushing because they're going to feel, if I go any further, I'm going to lose my balance. That is the point where their yang energy changes back into yin energy. So I'm pushing, and then, yang, I'm coming back. When they're being yang and they're pushing you, you should be yin. You release, in this case. So the guy's taking a broom. He might just push you over on your ass. If you resist under conditions like that, you probably will get pushed on your ass. You see it tense up, you start resisting, and he's just going to push you over. Instead, you just have to go soft. Yield. All right? And wait. you hope you can keep your balance as he goes through the process of expending all his yang energy and having to turn it back into yin. And when you feel him begin to turn back into yin energy, that's when you change from yin to yang. All right? So you're yin, 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 and then you counterattack. So we went, he almost pushed me over on my ass. And in situations like that, time will slow down. So you can, you can have a nice meal, you can read a chapter of a book or something, and that whole time, and I realized if I don't do something, he's going to push me over. What did I do? I just relaxed. And then, boom, came back and pushed him on his ass. So later we talked about it, and I said, "Well, that was interesting, Jim." And he goes, "Yeah, that was really interesting. I don't understand what you did." I said, "Well, what do you mean, what I did?" He said, "You just disappeared. I had really good contact with you, and then you just disappeared. It's because you stopped resisting. You just you're there, but you just disappear. So it's like pushing on a cloud. You push, but there's nothing there. The old phrase to describe Tai Chi is it's a ball of cotton with a steel needle inside. It's a ball of cotton with a steel needle inside. That's very soft. Right? It's very soft until it's not soft. So when you are practicing, that should be somewhere in your mind. You don't have to use the bloodthirsty version of this, but keep that in your mind. What are you doing? Are you yielding or are you attacking? Are you yin or are you yang? The point of this is whenever you move, your intention fills the movement. You don't move without consciousness. Just very, very simple in that way. Okay, guys, have yourself a good day.
Thank you. It was great.
Tomorrow. Good. We'll see you next time.
Ciao.